Welcome back to the PFF NFL show. Trevor Sikkema, Dalton Wasserman here with you guys for another mock draft episode of the program. As now the Super Bowl is in the rear view mirror, but you're elevating our mock draft game here on the show. We're including some trades. So we've done a lot of mock drafts. We did the pre-All-Star Bowl mock drafts when the order was finalized. We did the post-Senior Bowl mock draft, all that stuff. And we'll have the Combine coming up in a couple of weeks. So obviously the post-Combine and the post-free agency mock draft are going to mean a lot as well. But right now I feel like we have a good idea of the range of some of these players and certain players going to certain teams. But for this mock draft specifically, we're going to take a look at almost every single team in the first round, and we're going to talk about trade options here. We'll execute some of these trades here in this mock draft using the PFF mock draft simulator, but I think just overall, most of the conversation is going to be, hey, do we think this team could realistically move up or move down? So Dalton, a little bit of a different flavor here for this mock draft. How you feeling?
Oh, good. I mean, when you look at what we're going to add in here with these trades, and there's always maneuverability in the draft itself, right, when we get to the first round. And even, there's a lot of these picks that are still going to be very fluid. We haven't even gotten to free agency yet, but I think when you have to at least look at the possibilities, right? You got to look at the amount of draft picks that each team has. You got to really look at how they're going to fill several needs to get into championship contention. I think this is going to get a lot more fun as the offseason goes on to really play around with, okay, are these teams in this draft, I think, with the talent that you have, they have to find specific players that fit their very specific needs. And I think eventually when you get to your team boards, that's going to reflect a lot of that. You got a lot of teams that need a lot of different types of players, and you might as well move around to try to get them.
Yeah, really excited to get into the team-specific big boards, which we'll be doing right after free agency. We'll have a lot of the reports done on most of these guys here in the class that are going to be going within the top 250. The specific scheme fits for a lot of those guys. And then obviously when these teams fill out the holes throughout free agency, then we know, all right, what are the team needs? What could the team big boards look like? So really looking forward to that. Let's pull up the PFF mock draft simulator, which of course you guys can do as well over at pff.com/mock. If you have a PFF Plus subscription, then of course you can go through and explore all of the trade options for all of these teams as well. Subscribe.pff.com is the best way to get that. And if you check around pff.com, I think that you could find a little promo code to save you a little bit of money if you don't have a subscription. Dalton, you said before we started the show, you said, all right, you pick for evens. I don't want to pick for the Jets anymore. I don't want to pick for the Jets. So I will relieve you of that burden, and I will pick for the New York Jets. I will go with evens at number 2, which means you kick things off for us here at number 1. And I think we do have to have the trade discussion with the Raiders. Do you think they'd even entertain it? Do you think they'd even entertain a trade down here, knowing that they have Fernando Mendoza in hand, knowing that they need a quarterback, knowing that Clint Kubiak is now their head coach, Tom Brady obviously overseeing a lot of the decisions that are being made as a part owner of the team? Do you think they'd even think about a trade here at number 1?
No, I really don't think there's any reason to entertain it, because there's a big drop-off from Mendoza to every other quarterback in this draft. And really, what would be the Raiders' alternatives, right? You've got Geno Smith in-house. Now, if you want to keep him as an expensive backup for another year, sure. You've got Kenny Pickett there as well. There's not really any good options on the free agent market that are more than backup caliber. So I think, to me, I would not entertain it at all. I would just take Mendoza, run the card in, and then get on with the rest of the draft.
I think I saw Todd McShay talking about this, and I did agree with him. It's less about what other teams could offer, and I think it would be more about Mendoza than at that point, because I agree with you. If they like Mendoza a lot, like let's say, Tom Brady, he's part of the interview process when I'm sure they will have him in for an official visit there. If they like him at all, I don't think that there's really any price that a team could pay for them to move on from number 1. But if they don't, like let's say they look at Mendoza, and we've talked about this being a down year for really a lot of positions. Now, I think that Mendoza is a worthy number 1 overall pick here in this draft, but let's say they look at Mendoza and they go, I think he'll be solid in the NFL, but he's going to take us to where we want to go. If they've got those sort of question marks, then that opens the door. It would still be a king's ransom, I would think, for one of these teams to move up, but the only way they even entertain this, it's not about what another team can offer. To me, it's just about what you think of Fernando Mendoza. And if they love him, I don't think they'll be moving on at all. So sounds like you're sticking with him here at number 1.
Yep, no question.
All right. Fernando Mendoza, number 1 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. That puts the Jets on the clock at number 2. Jets are a team that, could they trade down in a draft class that has a handful of options here at number 2? Yeah, they could. And maybe as an organization, Darren Muji thinks, hey, anytime that the price is right, we will be flexible to move down. But they've got 2 first-round picks this year. They've got 2 second-round picks this year. They got 3 first-round picks next year already. So it's almost like you're getting to the point where you actually have to think about it like this, Dalton. You might be running out of cap space, right? You might be running out of like roster spots maybe for all of these guys, because you do have to think about the cap implications when you sign players who the rookie wages are capped and set depending on where you are drafted. Obviously, the higher you are drafted, the more you're getting paid. So you start having to think about that with some of the contracts. I think they could move down. I don't think they will, though. I think David Bailey kind of starts to come into play here for them if you want more of that outside linebacker type, depending on how much of a 3-4 odd front they're going to run. But it's just so hard for me to not take Ruben Bain, because I just think Ruben Bain is a better overall football player. And if you're not going to move down, just take the best football player. I like Ruben Bain more than I like Arvell Reese, more than I like every other player in this class that is not the Fernando Mendoza as an option for them. So I'd be taking Ruben Bain at number 2. I'll never say never with a trade, but I think I think they're going to stick here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the part with the second overall pick here is who is going to be desperate enough to go up and get one of these top guys on the board, right? In a draft that's also leaning heavily on the defensive side of the ball, there are plenty of alternatives to these players not very far down the board. So I'm with you. I'd probably lean Bain over Bailey. He's a force multiplier in the run game, really good as a pass rusher, obviously taught by Jason Taylor down there at Miami. Me personally, this pick would be Ruben Bain or Caleb Downs, but I think Bain as the edge defender, right? There's going to be conversations about Downs' value as a safety going that high. I think Bain is the right choice.
Now, number 3, I know you're in control of this pick here for Arizona, but as we were, obviously we knew that we were going to do this exercise, so I'm thinking about potential spots. I think Monty Ossenfort, the general manager for Arizona, has proven over the last couple of years he's not afraid to be able to move up and down the board, sometimes in the same draft even, right? You think about the draft where they got Paris Johnson Jr., they were picking at number 3, moved all the way back to, I believe it was number 12, and then they popped back up to number 6 to go get him. So they're not afraid to move. Dalton, the problem is that just I don't know if anybody's really going to be willing to pay the price to get to number 3. Like, when I was thinking about this exercise, I thought about Les Snead, and I thought about the Rams sitting there at number 13. Could be one of those teams that's getting super aggressive for really anybody. Like, they could just go get a difference-making player. Do they believe that an Arvell Reese really changes things for them? But outside of them trading 13 and 29 to get up to number 3, I just never felt like the price matched what Arizona would take to move down from number 3. So this is a spot where I thought about a trade, because I do think that a GM is going to be sitting there where the phones are wide open. He's going to listen to a lot of conversations. I just couldn't find the value for anybody to really trade up for them.
I'm looking through just some other teams' picks here in this range. The Saints have 1 extra.
They don't have, like, the Kansas City doesn't have a lot of extra. Obviously, we know that, like, Cincinnati doesn't do a ton of moving, so their picks are the same. Miami kind of does. I mean, they have the 2 extra third-round picks. They're sitting at number 11, but do a couple of extra third-round picks get you from 11 to 3? No. I think really the only spots that they would consider trading down is, the Giants a couple of picks later, and the Giants don't even have a third-round pick. Cleveland's sitting there with a couple of extra selections, but they have 6, they have 24, they have 39 in the second round. They have their own third-round pick as well, but, like, are we in a situation where Arizona goes, okay, we'll move from 3 to 6 and we'll swap 24 and 34. So they're moving down 3 spots in the first round, but then they're jumping up 10 spots from the beginning of the second round into the first round. Maybe that could make sense if Cleveland thinks they have to get to number 3 to either take one of the wide receiver or offensive linemen, but you'd have to really love one of those receivers or offensive linemen head and shoulders above anybody else to do that trade. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the biggest problem with trading down in this draft is what is a buyer coming up and trading up for, right? Because, if the Browns are looking wide receiver or offensive line, they've got at least, three options there at number 6 at wide receiver. They've got 2 or 3 options there at offensive tackle. I think the teams that you'd be looking at to move up, they're going to be content to sit and wait. I don't think they're going to have any issue with sitting and waiting and going, okay, I think these options are, different types of players, obviously. Let's say we're talking about the 3 receivers. They're different types of players, but talent-wise, they're all relatively equal.
I agree. So kind of feels like, yes, Arizona's going to be listening, but I don't know if they'd be able to find a trade partner as it stands right now before free agency. So that means that you're making the pick here at number 3.
I agree. I think I'm going to go. This is something that's been floating around lately. I think I'm going to just take the safe pick and get an offensive lineman. I'm going to go with Francis Mauigoa from Miami, second straight Miami Hurricane. We're getting here. Plug and play, right tackle. Right tackle's a big problem spot for this Arizona Cardinals team. I don't know who the next quarterback is going to be or who the franchise quarterback is going to be under Mike LaFleur, but they need to fix up this offensive line. I think Paris Johnson and Mauigoa is a good way to start that.
Yeah, I think so too. I talked about it last year, how surprised I was that they didn't really touch offensive line at all. And I think that this offseason they've got to prioritize in a big way. That puts the Titans up on the clock at number 4. Titans are a team that they've got some extra day 3 picks. Like they got the Jets' 5th round pick. They got the Chargers' 7th round pick, but they don't even have their own 7th round pick. So pretty much business as usual for them, especially in the impact picks in rounds 1, 2, and 3 when it comes to value to trade down or double up and things like that. I think with Saleh now as the head coach, they've got to get a one-on-one pass rush winner, and I think that David Bailey is that guy. At least that, is his game complete in the fact that he's going to be able to defend the run, really hold the line of scrimmage for you. He's more of a gap shooting, get into the backfield type of a run defender than he is like a hold on to the offensive tackle or really hold on to the tight end and rip them off when the running back declares which hold they're going to go through. He's not that type of a run defender. He still can be useful in that area, but he can be extremely useful if Robert Saleh wants to continue to play that 4-down front, because you've got to have those one-on-one winners if you're not going to blitz a lot. So I'll go David Bailey here for the Tennessee Titans, and you're pairing a good outside linebacker type of a pass rusher with T'Vondre Sweat, with Jeffrey Simmons, who are coming off good years.
I think that's absolutely the right pick. I mean, you look at Tennessee, they're set on the inside. I like what they have at linebackers, starting with Cedric Ray, but edge defender is the biggest problem alongside cornerback on their defense right now. I think Bailey's the perfect player to really restart that pass rush off the edge there under Robert Saleh.
Giants, 5. I talked about how they don't have a 3rd-round pick. They've got a 1st, a 2nd, no 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 2 extra 6th. They've got Miami 6th, and they've got Dallas's 6th as well. So in theory, yeah, this could be a team that's maybe looking to move back, get an extra day 2 pick, get another one in there. But at number 5, I just feel like they've got a lot of options to take an impact player, whether it's Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, any of the wide receivers that are still left. What do you think about this, Dalton? I think they'd stay put at 5.
No, they probably stay put. And again, I just think unless a team is desperate to get up there and get a Caleb Downs or an Arvell Reese sitting here, like you mentioned, I think if you were going to leave him at linebacker, I think Arvell Reese would definitely be an option here at number 5 for the Giants. There's just the debate of where does he go positionally, right? Do we leave him there? Is he going to move to edge defender? The Giants certainly don't need more edge defenders. So, I mean, if they're going to draft Arvell Reese, he's staying at linebacker. He's not pulling the
Dalton, it's a premium position. You can never have too many of them.
That's also
just keep drafting edge rush.
That's also true. Or you make him a starting linebacker and you mix him into the pass rush packages and see where that goes, right? I think with this new coaching staff, it's really going to be fun to see how the Giants are going to manage this defense, especially up front with all those defensive linemen. I think I'm going to stick with wide receiver here. To me, they need a number 2 receiver alongside Malik Neighbors. Left me for a second there. Malik Neighbors, right? You want more of these threats building around Jackson Dart. Been a long week. To be honest, on my personal board, I have Mekhi Lemon as wide receiver 1. I think it's a very good debate depending on what you want between the 3 guys, between Carnell Tate and Mekhi Lemon and Jordan Tyson. For the fun, let's have some fun. I'm going to go with it. Mekhi Lemon, I think he's the best one, and I think you get a more movable piece underneath with Neighbors as an explosive deep threat down the field to really start to mix it up with this receiving core. I think that would be a lot of fun. Malik Neighbors to the Giants at 5.
their film
Or
grades were all very, very.
Makai Lemon to the Giants at 5, and they already have Neighbors because I'm just stuck on that now, apparently.
Look, you got there very quickly. In fact, you thanked yourself for helping you out before you even said the name. I don't know if you realized that, but you were trying to think of the name, and you were like, "Yeah, thank you." Yeah,
it's the Quinnen Williams. Yeah, I learned it directly from Quinnen. Yeah, right.
Look, I think that the film grade between all three of those top receivers, it's very close. It really is going to be about preference. But to be honest with you, man, I had Makai Lemon as wide receiver 1 going into the summer. I kind of had him as the wide receiver 3, but so close when I was doing the early wide receiver rankings over at NFLSE. But the more I watch of this guy, I just think I'm going to have him wide receiver 1. It's so hard to watch him play over the last 2 years and not think, yep, difference-making impact NFL player. And I think that he's got the best ability and the most consistency to be able to do that. Cleveland on the board at number 6 here. So we talked about maybe them moving up for an offensive lineman. But the thought process was, hey, you're going to have ones to choose from. Here at number 6, you really don't have to trade up to number 3 with Arizona unless you really, really loved one above the other ones. I think I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson here. I think I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson because if the medicals check out for him at wide receiver, I like the offensive line options that are going to be available for them later in the draft at number 24. And I like them a lot more than I think I'm going to like wide receiver, because let's say there's a very realistic world, where all three of the wide receivers that we talked about and Denzel Boston are off the board by the time we get to number 24, where they're picking again in the first round. Yeah, okay, Casey Concepcion, a very good wide receiver, an impact wide receiver. To me, very clearly not in the same tier as those other 4 guys that we mentioned, though. But the offensive tackles the offensive linemen in general that will probably be available at number 24, you probably like the starting and impact ceiling of those guys maybe a little bit more than a guy like Casey Concepcion, especially when you take positional value into the equation. So I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson here. As long as the medicals check out with him at the combine, this is what a wide receiver 1 type of a player looks like. And so let's go with Jordan Tyson here at number 6. That puts Washington on the board here at number 7. This is where I would like to seriously explore a trade, because Washington, the oldest roster in the NFL, right? We've talked about that a bunch, especially as the season was closing for them. Because of the Tunsil trade, they don't have a second-round pick and they don't have a fourth-round pick. So this is a team that desperately, now, of course, they're looking to add an impact player because they want to continue to compete, because if Jaden Daniels is fully healthy, you feel good about doing that. But this is a team that also really, really needs to get younger. And with no second and no fourth-round pick, that's not a great scenario to be in for them. I look at a team, especially with 2 wide receivers already off the board, I look at a team all the way down at number 21 in the Pittsburgh Steelers as a potential trade partner to give up what they would need to give up to go to get this pick with Washington, because the Steelers have number 21 in the first round. They have number 53 in the second round. They have 2 third-round picks, Dallas's third-round pick for the George Pickens trade and their own. They're also projected to get a comp pick in the third round as well. They have their own fourth-round pick, and they're projected to get a fourth-round comp pick there too. So they have 7 selections in the top 135, and they have 5 selections in the top 100. They've got the ammo to move up, especially to entice a team like Washington. Like, hey, we can give you a ton of picks. So what I'm looking at here for them, let's give them 21, okay? Let's give them 53 in the second round. Let's give them 99, so they've got those 2 third-round picks still, even after all of this. And then I think 135 gets the point value close on the draft value chart that I was working with. So you're giving up 21, you're giving up the second-round pick, you're moving all the way up to number 7, but you still have those third-round selections if you're the Steelers as well. And then, of course, you still have another fourth rounder, even though you're giving up 135. And then if you're Washington, you're moving all the way down to 21, but now you pick in the second round. Now you pick in the third round. No, not twice. Twice? I think.
Yeah, 71 and 99.
Yes,
yeah.
71 and 99. And then you would also have a fourth round pick. So this now becomes a draft where you can genuinely get younger. You still have a pick in the first round at number 21. You can still get an impact player that you really like there. Especially like if linebacker's your target, like I think Sonny Styles could be on the board for them here at number 7. CJ Allen could be on the board for them at number 21. I think CJ Allen's a hell of a football player, right? So if you tell me, yeah, I like Styles more than I like CJ Allen, but if you tell me you get to have CJ Allen at 21 and then you get a second round pick, you get an extra third round pick, and now you get a fourth round pick to build out your roster and get younger. That's the trade that I would do. I think that we should pull the trigger there. And then for Pittsburgh, I think what you're doing here is you're moving up for
Carnell Tate.
maybe an offensive lineman, depending on how you feel about Roger Jones. But to be honest with you, you're moving up for Carnell Tate to be that wide receiver 2 for your offense.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and there's been more whispers lately that maybe Aaron Rodgers does come back for another year, and that at least for another year solves the quarterback problem. But no, I think it makes a lot of sense. You look at the Steelers, there's just no receiver depth beyond DK Metcalf, and to add another vertical threat in Tate like that, and Rodgers wants to throw the ball still vertically down the field, especially on the outside, that's where Tate really excels. So I get it, and I think you've got a good match there with the Steelers having a lot of draft capital, and the Commanders, to me, are probably the biggest trade down candidate from that spot, being that they're coming into this draft with only 5 picks. I'm with you on that.
Saints are on the board here at number 8. This is me. Sorry, I felt like I kind of feel like it kind of took over on your pick there at number 7.
Nope, no worries.
I was just thinking about that trade, and I was like, man, this makes a ton of sense to me. So I wanted to see what it looked like. For the Saints here at number 8. All 3 wide receivers off the board. They just went 1, 2, 3.
I think you have an interesting scenario here where, again, you know me, I'd be a huge fan of Jeremiah Love ending up in New Orleans to jumpstart the run game. The other one, though, is with Arvell Reese on the board and Demario Davis currently a free agent. We'll see if he comes back or not. Now, again, this could be a does he stay at linebacker argument. Could it be Sonny Styles instead? They've got a pretty good rotation of edge rushers, right? They've got the starters Chase Young and Carl Granderson. Cam Jordan, he's a free agent too, but I assume he would probably come back as well. I think there's a debate here between Arvell Reese and maybe Sonny Styles and then Jeremiah Love. Which side of the ball do we want to go on there?
I think I'm going Arvell Reese.
Or would there be a team itching to trade up for Arvell Reese if he's still available at this spot?
Probably, but I don't know. I feel like New Orleans needs those impact players.
Could it be?
Oh, man, or would I go Styles here?
Or could it be a Dallas Cowboys trying to get to this spot? Maybe get a Reese or a Styles and just lock it in.
The problem with the Cowboys is that they only have the premium picks. The Cowboys have pick 12, they have pick 20, and they don't pick again until 112. So they don't have any second round picks. They don't have any third round picks, and their fourth round pick is outside of the top 100. Well, all fourth round picks are outside.
That
the top
might
100,
give me that might give me some ideas later. But yeah, that's a good point.
I think I'm actually going Sonny Styles here. I'm going to go Sonny Styles as the more pure off-ball linebacker. Like, I think that Arvell Reese is great as sort of that just like versatile apex predator type of a like second level defender, but just the intelligence in which Sonny Styles plays, especially as aggressive as he is downhill, I feel as though there are times when I've watched him and I think of Demario Davis because of how well he anticipates where the ball is going and how aggressive he is. So for Demario Davis, potentially a 1-in, 1-out there, I do like that one a lot. Should we pick Jeremiah Love over Sonny Styles, though? I think that's what it comes down to. Are we convincing ourselves too much to overlook the obvious?
I mean, I think there's good linebacker depth in this draft. This is another thing of depth versus scarcity, and it's going to be a long time, I think, before another running back is picked after Jeremiah Love. I think there's going to be linebacker options for the Saints later if they want them for sure.
All right, let's take Jeremiah Love then. Let's take Love at 8. So you're up now with the Chiefs at 9.
The Chiefs at 9. There's some interesting scenarios here because I think about offensive linemen. I would have loved Mauanoa here. I think Spencer Fano could be an option. I also think about, the Chiefs not having very much salary. I think they have maybe the least salary cap space in the league right now, well into the negatives. I almost want to say negative $40 or $50 million, something like that. And maybe usually he doesn't do this till day 3. But could Kansas City with Caleb Downs on the board here think about, Brian Cook's a free agent coming off a really good season. Do we keep locking in this secondary with Caleb Downs?
How
It's
are
a
they going to do this? I haven't read anything on the Chiefs offseason and how they're going to do this, but effective cap space from over the cap, 62 million
Yeah.
over.
There's another Mahomes restructure coming. They're probably cutting Jawan Taylor, which is going to be the logic for maybe taking a tackle here. And there's multiple other moves that need to be made. But I would say the first two things are a Mahomes restructure or extension, or however they're going to do that.
So if they restructure Mahomes, they get 44 million immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. And then if they restructure Chris Jones as well, you get another 22 million. So all of a sudden you're cap compliant. So they'll restructure both of those deals. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, they're all right. That's easier than I thought.
With Love, it was gonna be. With Love off the board, with the top 3 receivers off the board.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see. This is another spot. Would they think about trading up for Arvell Reese? The Chiefs only have 6 picks. Is there anybody out here who might be itching to trade up? Let's say maybe the Rams, even say the Rams with the extra capital they have, if they want to guarantee themselves, say, the top corner in the draft, if there's somebody that they just absolutely love and have to have, if it's Mansour Delane or what have you, right? Is it, a team that's still is it? Oh, you know what?
Well,
what about your Tampa Bay Bucks, Trev? What if they could dig into Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles here?
Yeah.
Or do you just wait it out? Because, the problem is you've got the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and even the Ravens, I think, could all think about either of those guys.
Jason doesn't trade up a lot because he likes his draft picks. Jason Light, the general manager of the Buccaneers. First name basis, of course. I think they'd be very interested in it. He just doesn't do it a lot. So, it would take, off the top of my head to get from 9 to 15. What's it take? Like a third rounder this year, a second rounder next year?
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
It just that's the ballpark. And I just don't know if Jason is going to not only spend a first round pick on a linebacker, but spend a first round pick, a future second, and this year's third on a linebacker. I just don't. If Reuben Bain was still on the board, maybe even if David Bailey was still on the board, maybe you think about it because those are pass rushers. But I just don't think that they would do it. So I thought about the Vikings maybe trading up at some point. I looked at them trading up with Cincinnati. But maybe do they trade with the Chiefs? Because the Vikings have
2/3.
The Vikings have 2/3.
Yep.
Do they try to jump the Bengals, who might be interested in Caleb Downs, right? Caleb Downs still on the board here at number 9. Now, again, you're going to be trading multiple assets for a safety. There's a difference of taking a safety with a first round pick and then taking a safety with a first round pick plus.
I think if you do this with Minnesota, the 2 guys then we start debating are Caleb Downs and Mansour Delane, because I think Delane is a perfect fit in Brian Flores' defense.
Yeah. I think Delane actually could make a ton of sense.
And there's more safety depth later on in this draft that the Vikings could dig into.
Let's do that then. Let's go 18. Let's trade 18 and 50 from the is it 50 or what do we have it at? 49.
49,
yeah.
I
think is what it might be at. And I think that straight up could get it done. You just give him a second round pick. You're moving from 9 to 18. Maybe you're throwing in a couple of picks here and there, some pick swaps, jumping up on day 3. But let's go with that. And so Minnesota jumps up for Mansour Delane because then they've got to jump Miami. They've got to. That means that they are jumping Miami, they're jumping Dallas, and they're jumping the Rams potentially. All 3 teams that could draft a corner. So let's do that. Let's get the Vikings on the board and we'll Mansour Delane.
I think an excellent fit in Brian Flores' defense with the size and the man-to-man ability that he has. That's a good fit.
Yeah, and then I've got the Bengals here at number 10.
I don't think you can go wrong with any of those first 3 guys. At this point, I know originally you had a thought about a Bengals trade down. I think you take one of these first 3 guys and you run with it.
Well, I thought about a trade down with them, but the Vikings are kind of the only team that makes sense because I don't think the Bengals are going to trade a lot further down. Maybe they could trade with the Rams, I guess. pick up a little extra draft capital, but
the problem is if you're the Bengals and if you trade yourselves behind Dallas, you're really losing that that first choice on a defensive player that can help you out a lot. Because they're essentially they're two teams that are built exactly the same, basically.
I'm gonna go Caleb Downs. I'm gonna pick Caleb Downs.
Reasonable.
Yeah. So you're up with Miami. You're number 11.
Miami. Wow, you look at some of those needs, and it starts to get kind of tough there.
I don't really think that they're a trade down candidate, by the way. I think they're much more of a potential trade up candidate, given the fact that they've got the 2 extra third round picks, one from Houston and then one from Philly.
Yeah, this is tough. So
I think they're staying and picking here if they get on the clock at 11.
Do we go Spencer Fano and move him inside to guard? Do we just take another linebacker to put next to Jordan Brooks? Do we just take the chance on Jermod McCoy because they need corners anyway? This is actually a hard one to me.
I'd take Jermod McCoy. Well, it's Jeff Hafley's team now, right?
Yeah. Because Delane, I would think he would want Delane, but we got Minnesota to jump up and get him. I mean, McCoy, it's just a matter of how much he likes. Yeah.
I was going to say, McCoy's kind of the same thing as Delane. The reasons why you would like Delane as a true sticky press man corner, Jermod McCoy does the same things. He's just coming off of the ACL tear.
Yeah.
So as long as the medicals check out, if they would have been fine with Delane, I just checked this the other day because in my head I was thinking that Delane played more in the slot than he did. He barely played in the slot this year. I think he played 39 snaps in the slot. So it's not like he was this inside out type of a defender. He can play in the slot, not saying that he can't. But most of what he did in his best work was just as that press man outside corner type. So if that's the case, I think Jermod McCoy would be a good pick.
Let's lock it in. They need secondary help in the worst way. That cornerback room is so tough right now. I'm with you on that. I think there's a good chance they come out of it with a corner. I think they could try to trade down and get more picks because they got a lot of needs. But again, it's about finding a partner there, and I don't think there is one for them.
For Dallas, I'm picking either Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles. It's just who.
I think if you're the Cowboys, which one do you have more faith in staying at linebacker and being a star? Obviously, Styles is a linebacker, right? So because Reese it's that tweener bit with Reese where it's what do we do with him, right?
And I think that Reese, Reese could be a really good player, but Styles is already the linebacker that the Cowboys want. So I think this one's actually pretty easy. If Dallas stays at number 12 and he makes it to number 12, I think Styles goes to Dallas.
The Rams at 13. We don't need
Rams.
To
I don't think they're a team that's going to trade back. If anything, I think they're a team that's going to get really aggressive because we already know that Les Snead is coined the phrase in merchandise that has been sold worldwide of F them picks. First round, they pick 61 in the second round, 93 in the third round, and then they have a ton of day 3 picks. They got 1 5th-round pick, they have 2 6th-round picks, and they have 3 7th-round picks. So they're going to be able to move up and down, and they're going to kind of be able to sweeten the pot with some of the higher picks that they have that they could move on from. I think the Rams are definitely a candidate to trade into the top 10. We just didn't find a dance partner for them.
I think there's 2 things I'm going to do here then. I'm sticking with this pick. I either just take Spencer Fano and continue building that offensive line depth, and they can figure out his fit later if he's their starting right tackle, or this is the first team I would think about pulling the trigger with Ty Simpson. Because we know Matthew Stafford's coming back next year. I would like Ty Simpson to go somewhere he could sit, which means probably LA or Pittsburgh. I think that's I'm flipping.
I don't think they do it at 13 at this point in time. I haven't heard enough to think they do it at 13. I think they do it at 29. I don't think they do it at 13.
Because the problem now, I mean, the big one you're looking at is is he going to get by? I guess you have the pick there. Is he going to get by the Jets at 16?
Maybe. Cool. To be decided.
Maybe's tough.
Not sure yet.
Maybe's tough to deal with. That's tough.
I think they'd just take best player available. I think they'd take Reese.
And just find where he fits anyway, even though they already have a ton of edge rushers, and just add him in with Landman and Spates. And I don't even know if he'd be a starter on this team right now.
What'd you say?
I don't even know if he'd be a starter on this team right now.
I think he becomes more of an impact player than Omar Speights. Like, I think Omar Speights has been great for them as an undrafted free agent, and they signed Nate Landman to, how long was his contract?
I think 3 years. I want to say a 3-year deal it was.
That's what I think as well.
You could just do it and take the talent. That is true too.
I just think that they would take the talent at this point in time. Like, if he makes it all the way to 13, I mean, he's somebody that I think that they would have the potential to trade up for if they wanted to. And again, I think Omar Speights is a good option for them in the middle, but Arvell Reese is going to have a higher impact than Omar Speights is long term.
Good go with it.
I think I'd just take the player. I wouldn't overthink it here, especially given the fact that you have 29 and they're going to be able to take a corner at 29. You get Arvell Reese and then you're getting an impact corner at the back end of the first round. Like, I think that's a crazy good draft for you.
Done deal. Arvell Reese falls to 13 in this draft. Wow, look at that.
I would have taken him for Baltimore here at number 14.
Agreed.
If we passed on him. They need pass rush and they need offensive line. I don't think. How many picks does Baltimore have?
They have.
Baltimore has. They have a lot.
10
but it's
picks
a first,
right
a second, a third, a fourth, 4 fifth-round picks, a 6th-round pick, and then 2 7th-round picks. So they could wheel and deal a little bit, but I don't know how much those means necessarily to moving up in this draft. Let's go Vega Owane. I know it's becoming a very common pick, but it just makes too much sense. Upgrade the guard play. Love this dude's hands. Love his core strength. Love his grip strength. Great pass protector. Really fast hands to be able to reset, handle all sorts of pass rush moves. A big fan of his game. So they go Owane at 14.
I figured it would either be him or this next guy. I mean, if there's any trade down scenarios, if there's a quarterback needy team looking to get ahead of the Jets, maybe here for Simpson. If there's any trade down scenarios for the Bucs, otherwise I know exactly who I'm taking with this pick. I don't. And you've done it before. There's not really a question. As long as we're staying here, it's just a matter of if anyone else feels the need to trade up for anybody on the board right now.
Don't think so.
Peter Woods.
Given how the board has fallen,
yeah, I don't think anybody's getting desperate for anybody on this list.
I don't think so either.
Which means Cassius Howell, you are a Tampa Bay.
Well, hold on, wait, did you pick it yet?
Not yet.
Houston's a team I've been eyeing for a while.
So you're the
but I don't know if they need to trade up this far.
No, probably not, because to me, the guy that they would have been looking maybe to trade up for, not this far, is Ioane.
Yeah.
And to get ahead of maybe to get ahead of the Chargers, and we trade down again at 21 or something like that. With Ioane off the board, I think you just wait. You wait and see how far Fano falls, maybe Proctor, and figure it out from there. I think if Ioane was on the board, we'd start thinking about it. But him going off at 14, that would probably be target number 1 for Houston to just plug in.
All right, then I think it is.
Spots.
I think it is Cassius Howell here then.
Yeah. Best pass rusher in the SEC this year. The Buccaneers need to find a way to get pressure without blitzing. Cassius Howell helps that cause for sure.
Jets is 16.
Oh, this is the hard one. Oh, sorry.
How do you feel about Pete Woods?
Just keep loading on the defensive line and go about it that way.
Yeah, but am I forgetting somebody with them moving on from Quinnen?
No. Joan Briggs played well. They have Harrison Phillips inside. Honestly, the Jets have so many needs of basically other than offensive line that you could justify doing anything, really.
Because you took Reuben Bain.
Peter Woods, Caleb Banks if you want a pass rusher inside. Avion Terrell to help out more at corner because they're looking at Brandon Stevens and probably Azarie Thomas at the moment. The Jets also have a boatload of cap space, so we'll see how free agency kind of changes their outlook.
Make some moves.
Denzel Boston.
Yeah, what about Boston too?
I think a defensive player at the top and a wide receiver makes a lot of sense. Just a matter of how much they like Boston. I see him as kind of a similar player to like a Jaden Higgins was last year. I think he could be really productive for him really quick. And talk about a complementary, size, a bigger guy, a complement to Garrett Wilson on the other side. And you can move Wilson around the formation more. I think Boston would make plenty of sense here.
I haven't seen this one before, but let's go Denzel Boston here to the Jets at 16. I actually do like that the more that we talked about it.
I think I would be in on any combination. We'll see if one of the other wide receivers were to fall in the actual draft, but the top defensive player on their board, whoever that may be at number 2, and then a wide receiver. Find yourself a wide receiver to go with Garrett Wilson, to go with A.D. Mitchell. I think it does make a lot of sense for Boston. It really frees up Wilson to move around the formation and do everything that he can do.
All right, before we get on to the next pick, which is the Detroit Lions there at number 17, our game plan of the week presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. The game plan of the week, we're going through these trades here. I think the game plan of the week is figuring out how the Washington Commanders can move down from that number 7 spot and get the most picks possible to get a little bit younger in this draft. To me, that is the game plan of the week. That's what it's all about. Yeah, they want to get an impact player, but you got to get more picks in this draft, just like we were able to find them a trade partner with the Steelers, moving all the way to 21, which we'll pick here in a few minutes. Just like every team win starts with a great game plan, your future should as well. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps you protect your family so that you can focus on winning today, knowing that tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out, building your dynasty, or looking to lock in long-term protection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote and start building your financial game plan today. Western and Southern, built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most. Lions at number 17. Is this me? You. This is you. This is you, actually, with the Lions here at number 17.
Yeah,
because I had to pick for the Jets, because you didn't want to pick for the Jets.
It is again the problem of, okay, I'm looking at trade down scenarios and going, who is it going to be? Right?
Yeah, and who's moving up for what?
Who's moving up for what is a big problem, I think, in this range right here. The guy, if I'm staying here to pick for Detroit, the guy that sticks out to me is Spencer Fano. I think, obviously, Taylor Decker's situation is up in the air, okay? So if you draft Fano and Decker retires, and, you can move Penei Sewell back to the left side where he played in college and insert Fano on the right side. If Decker doesn't retire, and you wanted to take Fano anyway, and I know there are some that believe he could be a really good guard in the league, you can move Tate Ratledge to center, maybe cut ties with the veteran Graham Glasgow in there. I think Spencer Fano in Detroit, not knowing, again, what Taylor Decker's situation is right now, Fano gives them options. Either they're set at tackle, or they're set for another year at tackle with Decker and Sewell, and he can play guard or he can sit behind the scenes. I just think he's a guy who, the Mauler mentality as a run blocker that obviously has succeeded in so well at Utah the last couple of years. He is solid in pass protection. I know you have some concerns about his ability to anchor, but I think when you look at the type of player he is and the options he can give this Detroit offensive line, they need one more big-time talent in there. I think Fano would be that guy for them.
All right, Spencer Fano going to the Detroit Lions there at 17. We had the Chiefs already trade back, and they're sitting here at number 18. I think this is a very good trade for them because, yeah, you didn't get Jeremiah Love, but you weren't going to get him anyway sitting at number 9. He went one pick before to the Saints at number 8. Instead, you're sitting here with Peter Woods and Caleb Banks still on the board here for them. Potentially even offensive linemen, like you mentioned. Maybe they've got an offensive line knee that they could hit. They've got options for offensive tackle prospects as well. You almost had the ability to take Spencer Fano there, who went just the pick before. It kind of depends on what player you want to go for, but I'll take Peter Woods here. I'll take Peter Woods for now. I go back and forth on this one. I had Caleb Banks to the Chiefs as high as number 9 overall right after the Senior Bowl, just because it's like, hey, if you believe in the flashes, this guy's 6'6", 330 pounds, and he's got some crazy pass rush potential to him. So maybe this team leans Banks and the potential a little bit higher, but even though the Peter Woods had a down year this past year, as a true freshman and true sophomore, man, he was awesome. And has he turned into that prolific pass rusher? No, he hasn't, but I kind of like him in a rotation that obviously has Chris Jones to it, but I think people might forget, also has Omar Norman-Lott to it, which he was hurt this past year, so he didn't get to play a lot, and all of a sudden I think that those 3 guys on the interior defensive line, if they're fully healthy, you feel pretty good about that. So I'm going to go Peter Woods here for the Kansas City Chiefs here with this trade down now with them at number 18.
I think the question there is, with Chris Jones, I mean, he's still one of the best interior pass rushers in the league. If you want a natural successor to Chris Jones, then it's probably Caleb Banks and you're trying to develop him. If you want somebody to complement Chris Jones and the pass rush ability with the run defense, you look at a Peter Woods or even a Caden McDonald a couple spots further down the board there. I think that would make the Chiefs' run defense a lot better between the tackles. I don't think there's a wrong choice for sure, but it's just 2 different paths of going about it.
Okay. So now you've got the Carolina Panthers at number 19. Not all four wide receivers already off the board for this team. So sometimes you think about wide receiver, but no wide receiver here to be taken. Where are you going at 19?
I think there's a lot of intriguing options. You could look at the edge defenders like Keldrick Falk or TJ Parker, but they took two of them last year pretty early in Nick Skorton, Princely Umanmiele, and I think there's that focus on internal development off the edge might be something that they kind of stick with, right, instead of just adding more bodies to the room, right? I think on the interior, things could get very interesting because you could add Caden McDonald to even further shore up that run defense, right? Derek Brown
Which
is
I do
obviously
like, yeah.
Derek Brown is obviously great, but they need to continue to get better on the inside. McDonald makes a lot of sense. Or if they want to find an interior pass rush, could they be the team that takes the chance on Caleb Banks' ceiling? Right? Because they don't really have much of an interior pass rush. They don't have much of a consistent pass rush at all, but especially on the interior, aside from Derek Brown, that's part of the defensive line that I look at. I think it's an underrated need for Carolina is who is it other than Derek Brown? And here, if I'm picking between those two guys, do we want the brick wall of a run defender in McDonald, or do we want the high ceiling pass rusher in Caleb Banks? Any thoughts there?
I think I'd go McDonald, to be honest with you. I like the idea of him being able to take up space, take up blockers, and just have a lot more flexibility with Derek Brown to give him more one-on-one opportunities. And then, of course, by proxy, if he's got one-on-one opportunities, that means also Nick Skorton, Princely Umanmiele, and those guys will have more one-on-one opportunities as well. So I think Caden McDonald could be sort of a change the math in your favor for the matchups that you get with Derek Brown throughout the season. So let's go with Caden Proctor here, especially for a team that has to get a lot better at run defense as well, right? We talk about linebacker upgrades as a way to improve their run defense, and they definitely need those there. But defensive line certainly helps you defend the run a lot better as well when you get a guy like Caden McDonald on the team. So I'm good with him here at number 19.
No, I agree with that. I think their defensive line gets a lot better, and I think linebacker is something they can focus on day two for sure.
So 20, I think the Cowboys had a situation that they could not pass up with Sonny Styles on the board for them at number 12. Here at 20, though, I mentioned how they have pick 12, they have pick 20, and then they don't pick again until 112. I look at the Houston Texans. We already mentioned that a little bit earlier as a potential trade-up candidate. I look at the Texans wanting to get ahead of the Chargers at 22, who could pick offensive line, the Eagles at 23, who could pick offensive line, and the Cleveland Browns at 24, who could certainly pick offensive line as well. All of those teams could pick offensive line before Houston gets on the board at 28. I like the thought of them giving up 28, 59 in the second round, and then 165, because this is the early math that I did on this one when I was looking at it. For 20, they move up 8 spots to get to number 20. And then they also get 112. So they're giving up that second round pick to move up those 8 spots to jump those teams for a premium position like on offensive linemen. And then they're doing a little bit of a pick swap where they're jumping up from 165 to 112 to help sort of mitigate and make the math make sense. So I like the idea of them moving up to number 20, the Cowboys getting some extra picks in this draft, especially a second round pick. So let's do this. And then it's one of the offensive linemen, and I feel like the offensive lineman available, you feel pretty decent about. I think Caden Proctor could be a target for them, but Caleb Lomu, Monroe Freeling, I even like Blake Miller a lot, right? Where I think he could be an option here. The question is just which one of these guys do you believe has the highest ceiling? I kind of think it's Caleb Lomu. I think I like Caleb Lomu the most, especially because Trent Brown is a free agent. Titus Howard has been better as an interior player. You have Ariante Ursary at one side, but then you can get a tackle-specific prospect for you to play on the other side. Lomu, Freeling, Blake Miller, those are the guys that I think about there at number 20 to trade up and jump those other teams that need an offensive lineman. What do you think about who might make sense for them to jump up to go get?
I would actually probably lean in on Proctor. I think you can draft him as a tackle prospect, but again, this is the part with Houston that's interesting for me is you have Titus Howard as that flexible piece that could play either right tackle or play guard if you wanted to, or if you go with your theory on Proctor that he could be a really solid guard, especially when you talk about Nick Caley trying to run all those duo run schemes on the inside, you could put Howard at right tackle and put Proctor, say, at left guard and try to go with that and just get downhill on that left side in the run game with Ursary and Proctor. I think there's some more flexibility there with Proctor and with the presence of Titus Howard. Now, it's the same thing. If you draft Lomu and you draft him as maybe a tackle-only prospect, then you go, okay, Titus is playing guard. So you always have that flexibility. I just wonder if Proctor fits and the physicality and their ability to get downhill, if that might fit in, regardless of where he plays, just a little bit better in the run game.
Yeah, and Proctor, I think, is the greater threat to be taken before 28, right? The Chargers could potentially take him and play him at guard. The Eagles, the same thing. The Cleveland Browns, the same thing. So let's go Proctor here. Let's go up and get Caden Proctor, somebody who could be a potential starter for you at guard and at tackle. Somebody who I think a lot of people look at the bad track record of some Alabama offensive linemen over the last couple of years, and I don't think he is nearly as I don't think his weaknesses. I don't think he has the same weaknesses as guys like Alex Leatherwood, J.C. Latham, DJ Fluker before him, Jonah Williams, right? Like, I just don't think that he has those same weaknesses. I thought he had a really good year this past year, and I think that he's got starting potential at the NFL level, which puts Washington on the board here at number 21, the team that we traded from 7 to 21 for to get all those picks in the rest of the draft.
Would we think about trading down here again or no? Is this a spot where let's try to find an impact player at 21?
Who's the board? Who's on board?
Because now we're sitting here with 8 picks. Again, this is a thing of who would you trade up for,
right?
Maybe to get ahead of the Chargers, because I think the Chargers, Proctor being off the board here for the Chargers is kind of a problem for them, but that's a different story. Otherwise, you take an impact defensive player, right? I think, to me, for this team, the guy that sticks out is probably TJ Parker.
I'd take Parker or Allen, to be honest with you. CJ Allen or TJ Parker.
So my only thing with Allen, and there's certain teams here that I love the fit, is that, let's say Bobby Wagner is coming back for another year, very much in the same style of current Bobby Wagner, where you have an elite run defender, no question. Your run defense will be a lot better. Coverage over the middle of the field is going to be a real problem, right? Whether it's just Allen leading the defense as a rookie or it's Allen and Wagner, Allen really needs to get better in coverage before becoming one of the best linebackers in football. I just wonder if they would try to fix either the secondary or the defensive line before they dig in more at linebacker. And they still have Frankie Louvu as well.
I don't mind those. I don't mind going a different direction here, but I will say that, yes, C.J. Allen's grades in coverage weren't great this past season, and there were some moments that obviously weren't learning moments, but he's got potential as a coverage player. There were some reps that I watched from him this past year where I was like, holy cow. Like, he had a couple of reps, I think it was in the Auburn game. He had a couple of reps in that game where I just was like, that was really good. Like, multiple breaks on routes that he's keeping up with these guys. He's staying in the hip pocket. So I think the coverage potential for him is better than certainly the version of Bobby Wagner that we have right now. So I would not be opposed to CJ Allen here at number 21. But if you want to go a different direction, you're picking for the odds, by all means.
I think if we get through free agency and Bobby Wagner either retires or goes elsewhere, I'd be much more in on that. I'm like, okay, fine, direct replacement, younger version of the same player. We still have Frankie Louvu. Let's ride. We'll see where that goes through free agency. I think that's something that could change. I think I'm going to go TJ Parker here. This team, edge defender and corner are such massive problems for this team that I feel like I don't want to say I have to pick for need because there's so many options at both these positions in this draft, but I'm going to go with TJ Parker. He was arguably the best player down at the Senior Bowl. You improve as a pass rush. You improve in run defense. He's a violent player. I think Dan Quinn would really like him in his defense. I'm going to try to fix up this defensive line, but I think it just speaks to all the needs that Washington has on defense. You really can't go wrong, and all those extra picks we got, I'm spending them all on that side of the ball.
So the Chargers are on the board here at number 22. No Caden Proctor, no Vega Wane. I think Emmanuel Pregnon could be an option for them, but I think 22 is early for him. I do.
I think defensive.
And I wouldn't want to.
Defensive line here is the underrated need for them. Because
right.
Khalil Mack's a free agent. Odafe Oweh's a free agent. They got to figure something out, especially off the edge here on this defensive line too.
They only have 5 picks in this draft right now. They have first, second, a third, a fourth, no fifth. They have a sixth, and then they don't have a seventh either. So, I mean, I'm looking at I'm looking at Caleb Banks potentially for this team. Can I just see edge rushers and defensive linemen? Because Caleb Banks, even with them bringing back Tier Tart, oh my boy Messidor.
You could Akeem Mesidor would make a lot of sense for this team. I do not hate that at all. Because I'll be honest with you, that next team on the board too might take Akeem Mesidor also. I think edge defender right now is very much the underrated need for the Chargers.
It's funny too because the Ravens traded OA to the Chargers, and then Jesse Minter went from being the defensive coordinator of the Chargers to the head coach to the Baltimore Ravens. OA is hitting free agency, could very well just go back to Jesse Minter and back to Buffalo now that Jesse Minter is there. I think it kind of depends on Khalil Mack. But I haven't seen this one yet, and I agree. I think that all around the defensive line is more of a need than we're talking about with the Chargers. So let's go with Akeem Mesidor here and just get a ready-made pass rusher to put on this defense.
I like that. I like that a lot. There's a pretty good chance I might have taken him. I might have taken him here with Philly if he was available just to get, because Jalen Phillips is, I believe, a free agent, and they're trying to figure out a little more depth off the edge there. And I could do it anyway. I could take a Keldrick Falk here anyway and go, look, Vic Fangio loves those heavy-handed guys on early downs, and him and run defense would be nasty as well, and you can mix up the fronts. I think Keldrick Falk would be a good fit in their defense. I've seen a lot of mocks taking Kenyon Sadiq with Dallas Goedert being a free agent. I think Avion Terrell or even one of the other corners, if there's any corners that you feel like are a solid option for them to play on the outside so we can leave DeJean in the slot. And, would you think about Emmanuel Pregnon here? Plug and play, maybe put him at right guard.
I think it's a little early for me. I think it's a little early for me with him right here. I would consider Avion Terrell, probably Keldrick Falk as well, before I would draft Emmanuel Pregnon.
I kind of like it. My first instinct tells me to go with Falk here.
All right.
Any trades?
How we weigh.
Anybody else? Any trades we feel like making? Anyone trying to get ahead of Cleveland for these offensive linemen?
I mean, like maybe New England. New England's got a bunch of picks, but they got a first, a second, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, 4 sixth rounds, and then a 7th round pick. So they have a lot of selections. I think they could offer Philly. How many picks does Philly have here? Philly's got the Jets third. They got a projected comp pick in the third, and they got 2 projected comp. They got their own 4th round pick and then a projected 4th round comp pick. Then they have their own. No, they have Atlanta's 5th round pick, and then they're projected to get another comp round pick as well. So I just don't. I don't know. I don't see how he necessarily like tinkering just for a little bit of extra picks that he kind of already has.
I was just looking at New England, too, because I do like – they have a lot of draft capital, and I like the idea of them moving up for an edge rusher if they need to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going with my gut. Eagles, Keldrick Falk.
Okay.
Get some size in the edge room.
I took Jordan Tyson for the Cleveland Browns earlier in this draft, and the reason why is because I felt like there would be offensive line options left for them, and I do think that that's the case. I'm going to take Caleb Lomu here at number 24, just a long-term developmental offensive tackle, a guy who's got starting tools, a guy who's got a lot of starting potential, somebody who's got a lot of experience over the last 2 years, just a redshirt sophomore coming out of Utah as well. So built the way you want offensive lineman to be built. He's still growing into his body, still growing into his strength. I think that he is absolutely a starting caliber offensive tackle at the NFL level, and you don't really get to say that a lot with guys who you're drafting here in the 20s. So let's go Lomu here, and Jordan Tyson, Caleb Lomu. I think it's a pretty good 1-2 there for Cleveland.
Wide receiver and offensive line have to be the goals for the Browns this entire offseason, but especially in the draft. They don't have a ton of cap space because of the Deshaun Watson contract. They need to find a way to get younger and better at wide receiver and offensive line. I'd spend multiple picks at both positions in this draft.
Who you got next?
The Chicago Bears. I think they would just stay here. I don't see any reason to trade down if I'm the Bears. They need to impact defensive players. My question is it a C.J. Allen at linebacker, or is it one of these interior defensive linemen?
Probably Caleb Banks or Lee Hunter, if I had to.
Take the chance on the twitchier guy. Is Kristen Miller a thought here at all? with their run defense, or
Yeah,
just try to
sure.
find a
Yeah,
pass
yeah,
rush?
yeah. He is. I should have mentioned him as well. I think he's a thought. Yeah.
Man, we've just seen so little of Banks lately. I get the ceiling, but Lee Hunter was so good this year at Texas Tech, and he was
I think Bears fans will
Senior
probably
Bowl,
be happier if you take Lee Hunter here.
I feel safer about the Lee Hunter pick. I'm going with it. That Texas Tech defensive line was so good. He was such a big piece of it.
Safe's a very dangerous word in the NFL draft.
Well, of course, safer.
Safer. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Safer.
In my brain, at least, safer. We're doing here is playing percentages. That's all we're doing.
Yes.
You know me. I usually some of the high risk, high reward guys. Sometimes I lean away from. I'm going to go with it. Lee Hunter, Chicago.
Okay. All right. That makes it pretty easy for me here with Buffalo, with C.J. Allen still on the board. I think he's perfect for them. There's no wide receiver really to tempt them. Yeah, I suppose you could go with Casey Concepcion, but I don't know. I feel as though the ceiling of C.J. Allen and what he could be in the middle of this defense, for a defense that's got to get a lot better than what it was last year, especially at the linebacker level. He is that type of a player for them. I think he's the new presence that they need. So, we're starting to get in the range of like, hey, do you think about teams, popping up from the back of the second round up into this spot? Like the Jets have a lot of ammunition. They could from 33. If Arizona traded down and they had some extra capital, maybe you think about doing that. Houston's got that pick at 38, but did we use that to move up to no, we didn't use that to move up. So they still have that, but we already had them move up. Like Cleveland, I don't think is doing it. Kansas City, Cincinnati, New Orleans, maybe Miami, because they had those extra third-round picks. Like maybe Miami is a candidate, but if you're the Bills, are you dropping from 28 to 43? I mean, 43 is pretty far into the second round, so I would say no. I think C.J. Allen's just the pick here. So explored some trades, but I don't really feel like this year is ripe for a lot of popping back up from the second round into the first round, unless it's sort of like at the very end of the draft there.
No, I agree with that. San Fran's an interesting one. Actually, there's probably, unless we're trading down at all here, what does San Fran have for ammo? Kind of the usual amount.
Actually, what does San Francisco have?
First, second, third, looks like two fourths and two fifths. Yeah,
no, they've got actually, they might have 3 fourths because they have their own, and then potentially 2 fourth-round comp picks for them, and then a fifth-round comp pick. So they might have some extra day 3 capital to work with there. But again, does that move the needle? Probably not.
The two guys that jump at me here are Caleb Banks and Kenyon Sadiq. Because, with George Kittle,
I don't think they're going to draft Caleb Banks. Just because they've invested so much on the defensive line already, right? You drafted Mykel Williams, you drafted C.J. West, you drafted
Alfred Collins. The problem with those 3 guys, 1, Williams is coming off the knee. 2, none of them are really particularly good pass rushers.
Yeah, but I don't disagree with you, but they're the ones who made the picks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think a year from now they're all of a sudden going to be like, wow, these guys couldn't rush the passer. You already knew that. They already knew that before they drafted him. So I just don't think they would change their tune. Would we? Maybe, and I think that puts Caleb Banks on the board. But if this is predictive at all, I find it hard to believe that they would have emphasize defensive line the way they did last draft, just for this draft, for them to go like, man, those players were totally different than all the scouting reports that said that they were exactly what they were going to be. I think Kenyon Sadiq's probably the more logical pick for them.
There's one more. There's one more that I was just looking at that I forgot I love as a perfect fit. I think for this offense, I would heavily consider Casey Concepcion here in this offense.
Oh yeah, it's a good pick.
You know what? I'm going there. Shanahan always finds a way to involve the tight ends that he has, and I think if he wanted a player with a similar skill set as Sadiq, I think he could find one later on. And really, we're just protecting, obviously, against however much time Kittle misses. I'm going to go with Concepcion. Juwan Jennings is a free agent. Brandon Ayuk is not going to be there anymore. You look at their receiver room, all of a sudden over the last 2 years, it's really kind of eroded. I think KC, with the yards after catch ability, as explosive as he is, I think this is a team, he's a really good fit in this offense. I'm going with KC.
The Cowboys couldn't sprint this one in faster, I think. To have Sonny Styles, Caleb Banks, and get an extra second round pick in this draft is would be pretty special stuff for them. So
you're gonna load
wait,
up?
no.
Well,
Sorry. I'm forgetting like how deep they are beyond Quinn Williams.
I thought you were just going straight to Avion Terrell there.
Yeah, Avion Terrell actually probably makes the most sense.
I think
I forgot that they've got the D line.
any of the corners make sense.
Quinnen.
The other guy, any of those three corners.
What about Cisse though?
Cisse would make sense. The other guy I would think about is Dylan Thieneman. This team had they either had the lowest graded or second lowest graded group of safeties. Dylan Thieneman would be very much on the board for me here for Dallas. You know me with
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. The point still stands. Sonny Styles, Dylan Thieneman, extra second round pick if you're Dallas.
No, just fix this back seven any way possible. And like you mentioned, getting extra picks there.
I think there'll be a good pass rusher for them to pick as well with that second round pick that they were able to.
Oh, absolutely.
To pick up. So
yeah, I mean, I feel
really good about this.
Yeah. All right, are we doing it here? Is it Ty Simpson time? Because we haven't done it yet.
Could be, yeah.
Because we went BPA and went Arvell Reese with that first pick. So it's either Ty Simpson or a corner. I don't think there's any other way to go about this. Which of these guys is the best zone corner on the board to you?
Probably Terrell.
So, Avion Terrell, Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I mean,
what's it going to be?
I think all of these guys can play zone. I think that Cisse and Abney have better abilities to play man, but like Colton Hood was great in off coverage. Terrell's great in off coverage. I'd probably pick Terrell. I'd probably still just pick Terrell here.
Let it rip. Biggest need on this team if they're trying to win a Super Bowl next year is corner.
Yeah.
Coming out of this first round with at least one corner. At least. I think is big. And
for the Broncos, this one's... I mean... Sadiq is the obvious, right? He's the one that I think a lot of people look at and be like, oh, this is the Joker player that Sean Payton was talking about last offseason. But I think Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's a potential selection for them. I think that Caleb Banks could make sense for them depending on how they navigate their defensive line. I'll go Kenyon Sadiq here, but man, I think the options for them at 30 could be a lot more wide open than people might give it credit for. I'm very intrigued to see what this offseason and the free agency portion of things is like for the Denver Broncos. But I will take Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end here, just because the potential is through the roof with him. And I trust Sean Payton to get a lot out of those really talented tight ends.
I agree with that. I think New England here at 31 is interesting. Offensive line might make some sense. I know there's been all of the debates about Will Campbell. I'm fully aware of that. And you know me, I'm squarely on the side of leave him at left tackle for another year and see where it goes. But either way, you do have a 36-year-old right tackle in Morgan Moses that you could kind of start to transition towards the future at that spot. The other ones I think about are the off the edge. Get the edge rushers going for New England here. You know, New England was their edge defenders were 29th in pass rush grade this year. Their interior pass rush is elite, but they need somebody off the edge who can just get after it. I think our Mason Thomas makes some sense. I think Gabe Akis, I think Mike Vrabel would really like Gabe Akis. I know you love Zion Young for sure, a violent player off the edge. Is there any of those guys that could sneak into the first round and fill this edge defender need here for New England?
Probably Zion Young. He's the most likely, I would tell you.
More of a two-way player than Thomas, because our Mason Thomas feels
I like Thomas a lot. If you are asking me who I think has the better likelihood to get in the first round, I think it's Zion Young.
Because Thomas almost feels like the best DPR in this draft, which still means a lot.
One of them,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just a matter of can you play him on early downs. There's no doubt you can play Zion Young on early downs, and I do think.
I also think that Gabe Akis is a perfect fit for the Patriots.
Mixing up fronts and going inside out and doing all of that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean he's big as hell, strong as hell. Like he would be great for them. But again, if you're asking me who I think is most likely to get into the first round, I think it's Zion Young.
I'm in on it. I think edge defenders a low key need. I think a lot of people are going to look at the offensive line after the Super Bowl, but I think off of the edge they need just one more presence over there. I think Zion Young makes sense.
For the Seahawks,
Oh, there's a lot of thoughts here. There's a lot. Because I think, do you go guard in the first round for the second straight year?
probably not. No. You know what? I'm gonna pick Brandon Cisse here until free agency tells me otherwise. I think I'm gonna go corner here, just because with Reek Woolen up, with Kobe Bryant up, with Josh Jobe up, like. Yeah, you've got two elite ones in Devon Witherspoon and Nicky Manwari, but like you need an outside type of a corner player, and we saw just how valuable defensive backs and the right defensive backs were for this team. Cisse's got the movement skills that Seattle always has coveted. I think he could be a really, really good fit for them if they don't end up bringing back all of those guys. So if they have an outside corner need at all whatsoever, I think Cisse, his athleticism, how twitchy he is, how willing he is as a run defender, all that checks a ton of boxes there for Seattle at 32. So he would be my pick there.
Reasonable. I think the other one that would make a lot of sense to me, because Kobe Bryant's really moved to playing free safety now. If he does leave in free agency, I do think safety becomes another spot that's possible, whether it's McNeil, Warren. If Dylan Thieneman is on the board here, I think McDonald, the movability of Dylan Thieneman, you don't think he would love that guy too? You have him and Eamon Worry flying around. So we'll wait and see the situation with Kobe Bryant, I think especially at safety, but otherwise, corner is probably going to be a need for them. That's a pretty safe pick right there.
All right, there we go. First round mock draft with trades. So which trades we have? We had Washington trading down from number 7 to number 21 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh moved up to go get a wide receiver. They got Carnell Tate. We had the Vikings trading up with the Kansas City Chiefs at number 9. Vikings went up to get Mansour Delane, who's a really great scheme fit for Brian Flores and that team. And then the Chiefs were able to get, who'd they get at 18? Oh, they were able to get Peter Wood still. So pretty good trade for them. And then we had the Texans trading up from 28, jumping all those teams that needed offensive linemen up to Dallas at number 20 for Dallas to get that extra second-round pick and some change there after that. So those are 3 trades. And obviously, we talked about a ton of trades throughout this mock draft as well. We would love to hear from you guys on what you think of these trades, the deals, the players that they were moving up for, any other potential trades that you could see happening in the 2026 NFL draft. Like we talked about throughout the whole show, a lot of things will change once free agency comes around and we get a much clearer picture of what the team needs are. But it's a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys watching. For everybody behind the glass, help producing the show, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema, saying thanks so much for watching another episode of the PFF NFL show. We will see you guys next time.